tried before.
Yes, thank you. So I found this movie really powerful in the area of forgiveness, especially. And I was wondering how all of you brought that to the roles, and how would it contrast with how you might deal with something like that in real life? Because it seemed like a lot of people were very against forgiving him, especially in the church scene. And I just found it so powerful when he went to the acting or the exercise class. And yeah, I really wanted to know more about that and bringing that to the screen and how it might contrast in your real life.
Kathy, you wanna go first?
Well, yes, I think forgiveness is a huge subject. Self-forgiveness, forgiveness of others that have done harm to us. I had to do quite a bit of research, Nancy, to start with, because I wanted to understand how the mothers of children who have committed heinous crimes have learned how to live with that day after day. And it's not, all of the attention is put on the defendant, quote unquote, and so little is talked about in terms of the families, although we're seeing more of that now, unfortunately, with the trials that have been going on here in this country. But also, I did some research online about how these parents really begin to suffer from post-traumatic syndrome. Some drink themselves to death. Some deny that it's happened for a long, long time. I think Susan Klebold, is it Susan? I think her name was. Anyway, mother of Dylan Klebold from Columbine, to try and understand. She didn't come forward for years and years to be able to talk to the public about that. And I think in Bernadette's case, she hasn't seen her son in 20 years. Franka explained to me that she'd never been to prison to visit him. And he had killed her best friend. So she had lost her previous son to suicide. She lost her best friend because her son kicked her to death for no reason. And I think the fact that it's not explained in the film is really how a mother would feel. She doesn't know the answer to that question. She'll never know the answer to that question. And for these last 20 years, she's been in a prison of her own. The phone doesn't ring. Instead, she gets bricks through the window. She's been shunned by the community. She doesn't have the money to move away. So she's really in a prison. And I made the decision that it's sort of like a race, whether he'll get out of prison first or she'll die first. And I think Bernadette's hoping she dies before he gets there. Oh, that cleaned the room out. So who's next?
My microphone was off earlier. I just wanted to say thank you to Kathy for that answer. That was great. And also, if I could get answers also from Franka and Aisling, is that how you pronounce your name?
Aisling, yeah, the stupid spelling.
Thank you.
Sorry, yeah, you were asking about the forgiveness question, right? I, as the person who wrote the story and directed it, have to say I don't have like a solid, good answer on forgiveness. I guess if I did, my movie would probably suck because I would think that I had the answer, and I maybe made the film because I don't. And I think it has changed so much, like the reality of forgiveness in the last, my God, like 2 years especially, or maybe even like the last, when did we have the other president, and I think it goes hand in hand with, so complex. I don't want to be too political, but it goes hand in hand with a lot of anger about things that don't seem fair and that have not been fair for such a long time, that have been popping up, in our reality. And so I think forgiveness is hard, and I think there's no general answer. You have to look at what you're forgiving and who you're forgiving, probably a little bit too. I think that on paper, I know the person that I am, that forgiveness is the right thing. It's the right thing to attempt. And it's probably one of the hardest things. And I think if I look at my personal world, when it comes to forgiveness, I think that just acknowledging the fact that something needs to be looked at and forgiven alone is probably a beginning. You know what I mean? Like, I might be somewhere where I can say, look, this sucks and it's so uncomfortable and I have such a hard time being in this feeling, but I'm going to endure it, hoping that I come out somewhere on the other end together with someone, right? And I think that's, to me, that's a lot. You know, just acknowledging that it needs to be done is a lot. It's a beginning. It's one of those where that is a lot, I think. Little is a lot.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to add there, Nancy, is when I think it was in Charleston, where the church members were all gunned down at the church meeting with Roof, this young kid who went in and sat with them for a while and then just blew everybody away. When he was brought into the courtroom, I think he was behind glass, and every single one of the relatives of the people that had been killed stood up and forgave him, which I thought was absolutely incredible, and forgave him publicly too. It wasn't just something they did privately behind the scenes, and that kind of forgiveness is so incredibly rare. And I don't, at the end of the day, I don't really know that Bernadette has forgiven her son, Marvin, for having done this, which is odd. She has, it's sort of like a train going off on a siding, that she has come to accept him for who he is now. And she does want to protect him from the neighbors and from the people who want him dead. But I don't think she, for my money, I don't think she's really deeply forgiven him.
Yeah, I can see that.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.